Hello, welcome to the Basics of the Value Stream Map webinar. I'm Kevin Clay and I will be leading you on this webinar today. What is our course agenda for today? First, we'll briefly give you an introduction to the firm that is bringing this free webinar to you. This firm is called Six Sigma Development Solutions. We are a global Lean and Six Sigma training, certification, and deployment company. I am Kevin Clay. I'm your instructor. I am one of the principals in this firm, and we'll talk a little bit about our goals in our firm. And our goal is really to be teachers or mentors to help you progress yourself in your career goals. So we'll talk about that in the next slide. We'll talk about how to use the Value Stream Map as a transformational tool, an excellent tool, especially or one of the tools that's used in the initial implementation of a Lean project or of Lean as a whole. We'll talk about how to develop a basic current state value stream map. We'll talk about the difference between transactional VSMs and industrial. We'll discuss how to develop a basic future and state value stream map. How do we get to the future state? We'll answer that question. And then finally, we'll end the webinar with a discussion on scheduling a strategy session with you. So let's go ahead and move on. First, we'll start out by talking a little bit about my firm, Six Sigma Development Solutions, and really who am I? Again, Six Sigma Development Solutions is a global organization. We have over 50 contractors stationed strategically throughout the United States and abroad to be able to respond to opportunities as they arise. We are a Lean and Six Sigma training organization. We have open enrollment training or public training, some people call it, all over the globe for different organizations to come into this training and to network with each other while learning these different methodologies. We do on-site training. We have many on-site trainings happening at different organizations all over the globe. And we perform deployments, implementations. So a lot of the trainings that we're invited to come do actually turn into full deployments because the organization starts to really see the benefit in building the infrastructure, and they want to really transform the way they do things. So who am I? My name is, again, Kevin Clay. I'm a Master Black Belt and a Lean Master Practitioner. I always put quotes around that word master. I really don't think there is one. I think it's a concept of the more you know, the more you find out that there's a lot more to know. And that can be daunting in some cases, but I find it very interesting in the fact that there is so much more to know. I am the president and the CEO of Six Sigma Development Solutions. Like I said, we have about over 50 affiliates stationed all over the globe, again, to react to opportunities as they arise. I personally have 17 years operational experience in manufacturing, distribution, processing, finance, retail sales, insurance, healthcare, many of the different IT disciplines, nonprofits, in local and state government. So, I and my colleagues we've really been around and seen lots of things, lots of processes, lots of things go wrong, lots of things go right. And this really helps us in our ability to transfer knowledge, in our ability to teach. All of our contractors are master black belts, and they all have over 15 years experience in different disciplines. We have many that are specifically focused on healthcare, others IT, others nonprofit, local and state, others manufacturing, etc. So this experience and seeing so many different processes and taking on so many different projects, both as mentors and as leaders, have really helps us when we teach to help you understand the concepts that we teach, because we can back that up with stories, and those stories help these methodologies come to life. I personally have instructed over 500 plus change agents across multiple disciplines, many of the disciplines that you see above. Change agents are really just kind of an amalgamous term for us that describe Six Sigma black belts, green belts, lean agents, master black belts, etc. So I have led over personally 15 separate implementations in domestic global organizations. Led or mentored over 80 Six Sigma industrial transactional projects. Facilitated over 110 Kaizen and workout projects. Really, the word workout is more specific to those that are in the healthcare environment, but wanting to use the right verbiage. So again, been around the block, seen a lot of things, and that helps myself and my colleagues to transfer that knowledge. So, there's a recurring theme in our evaluations from every company, every person that we teach, and this theme is, Kevin, it's like you've been in my organization, see what I do, although you've never been there, but you're talking about things that we're dealing with. How can that be? Well, that can be because these problems really replicate between companies. So we've seen your problems before in most cases, and that helps us in our project roles. All right, let's get down to learning about the value stream map. Before we can really understand the value stream map, we have to really understand the definition for a value add. What does value add mean? All right. Well, there's 3 criteria for value add. All right. I'm going to give you criteria 2 and 3 first, and then we'll go back to 1 because I have a debate with 1. The second criteria is that the material or information is being processed or transformed into a final product. Basically, when you're transforming a widget, when you're transforming a product, when you're transforming a transaction from one thing into another, that is adding value. And it's only adding value if you're doing that step, that transformational step, the first time. When you do it the second or the third time because you're having to do it over again because of a mistake, that's not value added. All right. That the first time is when you're truly transforming. The second time is really called rework. All right. And that costs value to the end customer. Now, I have a lot of people, a lot of practitioners say, well, Another criteria is the customer wants you to do it. Well, I have a debate to that. So I've been to a lot of places where the customer wants you to do something to their product, their transaction, that really doesn't add value to it, like inspection. So I worked with a company. I'm not going to give you the name of the company, but this company makes they make 50 caliber rounds for the military. So they brought me in to look at their process. Actually, they brought me in before that to do a lean agent training course, an on-site training course. So as part of that training course, at the end, they or not at the end, but during the course, they took me on a tour of their plant because they wanted me to kind of give them some insight to how I could, not how I could, but how they could reduce waste, how they could make their process better. So they took me through this process of making this round, and I noticed there were several steps where they were inspecting 100% of the parts going through that process. So at the end, they asked me a question, and every tour I take, I get asked the same question. Kevin, what would you do to improve the process? And I said, well, it's pretty easy to understand. If you want to regain time and capacity in the process, you need to get rid of this 100% inspection. Well, they kind of visibly gotten shaken by that. They were stiff at that. And they said, well, we can't do that. That's our customer has that written into our contract that, we make money by doing that. So why would we not do it? And I said, I don't care if you make money or not. That's really one of your biggest bottlenecks, and that's why you're backlogged, because it's really slowing your process down. So it was funny that about six months before I came there and I actually went on that tour, they had a number of engineers quit. And these engineers actually built a similar facility making the same thing. And these engineers actually understood the concepts of Six Sigma and capability and statistics and etc. And understood that 100% inspection really did not need to happen. So they actually created a process to create the same 50 caliber round a lot quicker and a lot cheaper. So they went to the end customer and said, hey, we can build this faster, more quality, and cheaper. And they proved it. They proved it through statistics, through capability, etc. In the end, customer eventually actually broke their contract with the company I was visiting, and incurred the legal fees for it, and moved to the next vendor. So even though the end customer wanted their vendor to inspect 100%, they didn't really want them to do that. They just were jaded so much by the industry that they required that. But once they were educated enough to understand that they didn't need to do that, through statistical analysis, they backed away from it, and that led them to the other customer. So I say, if the customer wants you to do it, as long as it fits within that value-adding criteria, and the value-adding criteria partly is it doesn't fit into the 7 wastes. So this is basically looking at the process from the start to finish, and how much value it brings to a consumer. And when we look at the value stream, we're looking at really two different aspects of value. We're looking at what doesn't add value to the customer and what does. And again, the only thing that adds value to the customer is something that is it's when the transaction or the product or service is being changed. All right, so if I've got a blank form in front of me, an order form, and I'm filling out that order form, I'm turning that order form from a blank order form into a completed order form. That would be considered value adding. Now, I put that into a envelope and stick it into a mail slot where it sits and waits for a day for somebody to come pick it up. It has not been transformed. It has not changed from one thing to another. All right, so in that case, it's waiting, and waiting is a waste. Here is an example of a value stream map. All right, just a really basic pictorial value stream map. So this is basically placing an order. Actually, it's a whole order process, and it starts with the customer places the order over the internet. It takes 3 minutes. Now that is a value-added activity because that customer is turning that blank order into an active order, into one that's filled out. Then we move that into a producer who's processing the orders of materials from the supplier. All right, so it takes him 15 minutes to do all of that, and then there's 2 weeks lead time from the time he commits that order till the time that it's ready to be shipped. Now, next, there are 2 days in transit time. Again, while I'm being in transit, all right, I'm still not having anything done to me. All I'm doing now is I'm moving, but I'm not being transformed from one thing to another. Then I get into the production of the widgets, right? So all the parts have got in, and now they're being attached to each other. So now I'm being turned from one thing into another. All right, so it only takes an hour to produce that widget, and it takes 10 days of queue time within each of the steps. So I may be created in a batch where a batch of 1,000 of the first step get created, a batch of 1,000 of the second step created. So I may spend a lot of my time within the production process actually not doing anything. I'm just sitting and waiting. So that's where that queue time comes in. Now we go to the inspection. All right, it takes 10 minutes to inspect. Again, while I'm being inspected, I'm not actually being transformed into something else. All we're doing is actually making sure that things are correct. And it's always a fun conversation with my students to say, is inspection, is that value added or not? A lot of people say, well, yeah, it's in order for us to make sure that we've met our requirements, right? And I always come back to them and say, if you had 100% confidence, 100% confidence that you would not make a mistake, that you would never make a mistake, would we need to inspect? And the answer is always no. And my comeback to that is, well, then inspection is non-value added. Okay, then we move to the inventory, storage, packaging, and shipping. All right, so it takes 10 minutes to package the parts into, say, a crate or a number packing. And then it sits there for 2 days waiting. All right, waiting for a truck to come and get it. The truck gets it, and it takes 2 days in transit time from the factory to the customer. All right. So at the end of the process, the whole process takes 30 days. It took me 30 days after I ordered the part to get it. But if you look down at the bottom, out of that whole 30 days, there's only 1 hour and 25 minutes of value-added time. I don't know about you, but that's amazing to me. That's an epiphany. It takes only 1 hour and 25 minutes to make the part, and it takes 30 days in the whole process cycle time, from order until the customer receives it. So that to me, that to a practitioner, that 30 days, that's gold. That's gold lying there. That's capacity that's just waiting to get released. And that value stream map is a quick way to let us understand that we have a lot of opportunity in this process. The value stream map doesn't take very long to produce, 1 or 2 hours, and it's a very pictorial tool that helps the SME, the subject matter expert, those guys and gals on the floor, to really understand, wow, we really don't spend a lot of time truly adding value to the customer. Why focus on the value stream? Well, the value stream is very important to us because it helps us to separate how much time in the process are we actually adding value to the customer versus how much time that we're not. And I can tell you that I have done hundreds of value stream maps in my career. And I rarely ever come across a value stream map where I look at the amount of value, or the amount of time of value added in the process, and the amount of non-value added in the process. And what I do is I take the non-value added, the value added time over the non-value added time, and what I come up with is a percentage, the non-value added percentage. And I rarely ever come up to a percentage of value add that is more than 1%. Again, most of the processes that I or my students look at when we do a value stream map, I have rarely ever come across a process that initially, when looked at, actually gives more than 1% value to the customer. That's over 99% of it is non-value added. Weighting, transportation, batching, all of the 7 wastes. So this value stream map, really the goal of that value stream map is to really help us to identify and eliminate waste. Help us to see the waste. All right, I'm actually gonna take you into what a value stream map looks like. So this will all kind of come together. So it helps us to identify, to see the waste. I like to draw value stream maps with very, very simple pictures, very simple symbols that make it very easy to understand by all levels of education, and really by different cultures. And it's amazing after this value stream map how everybody can kind of step back from it and they all have the same reaction. Wow, I didn't know it was that we were doing things to that level. I didn't know that 99% of what we're doing doesn't really add value, and they get the epiphany that's gold to us. That's a lot of time that we can recover. That's a lot of capacity we can recover. So in order to get to that realization, we have to have some kind of visual tool, some kind of a visual map. And that value stream map is that map. Here is an actual value stream. This is a great example of cutting, printing, and binding a book. All right, so you'll see that we use symbols to really represent different aspects of the value stream map. So in this case, you'd look at the cutting and printing and binding of a book from the point of the supplier bringing it to the raw material store, all the way to getting it back out to the customer. And you'll look at this, you'll see these triangles with little eyes in them, little or a capital I in each one of them. What that is basically an inventory storage location. That's where the parts, the widgets, sits there and does nothing. And you'll see the word NVA, that means non-value added. So you'll see that most of that part spends most of its time not doing anything, not adding value to the customer. So over about 30 days, it spends about a minute and a half, a minute and 40 seconds actually adding value, which gives you a value added percentage of 0.003. You look at that and go, that's nuts. I'm adding that much value to the customer. All right. And again, that's the epiphany. That's an epiphany that says, okay, we need to really look at this process differently, because most of what we're doing doesn't truly benefit the customer. Now, where most people go wrong in the production of this value stream map is they start at the supplier and move towards the customer. In a value stream map, we're not mapping the process. All right? We're mapping a part, a piece, a transaction, a service as it travels through the value stream. All right? It's almost like putting a little RFID on that one book, that one single book. And in this case, let's say that we make books in batches of 2,000, which would tell me why I'm sitting there most of the time, because I'm waiting for the other 1,999 to get finished. So I'm the first one that goes through cutting, and then I'm sitting there waiting for 2 days while everyone else gets cuts, and maybe just sitting there because I'm waiting. I'm queued up waiting to be printed. So I've got a little RFID just on that one book, and I want to see what happens to that one book all the way through the process. Now, in a process map, we're looking at, what are all the tributaries to the river. We're looking at all the different things that happen in the process. But again, a value stream is not a process map. It's just showing you the value of one part piece transaction as it flows through the process. One way to make sure that we don't actually split this up into many different value streams is to start from the end, start from the customer and work backwards. That will ensure that you are following one thing. That's very, very important in producing a value stream map. That helps us to understand that we're actually following one thing all the way back to the front. If you start from the front as a supplier and move towards the customer, what you'll find out is, well, in binding, we have 3 different ways we can go. Or in printing, we have, 4 different routes we can take. Again, we're not looking at all 4 routes. We're looking at that one part as it travels through the value stream. And again, tracking it from the customer back helps us to make sure that we focus on that one part. Here we have the value stream symbols. Lots of symbols in the value stream tool set. Lots of different symbols in the value stream tool set. You'll see here some of these are somewhat complex. Now I can tell you that I don't use a lot of these symbols. There are literally thousands of symbols that can be used, and I will tell you a good program that contains most of these symbols is Visio. Microsoft Visio has a great add-on for doing value streams. I kind of prescribe to what a great man by the name of Dr. Ono said, and he said, don't have too many girlfriends. And really, it's kind of funny. What he means is only in the beginning, just get really comfortable with a couple of these. I personally just use my own symbols because the end goal of this tool is to be friendly to the operator, friendly to the people that are looking at this. This value stream map should really help us understand what's going on in the process. All right, so the symbols are there for you. You can use your own symbols if you would like. Administrative value stream mapping is a little, just slightly different than doing things like in industrial value stream mapping. Administrative value stream mapping, really what we're most interested in, especially in service processes, is time and money. Those are really the two continuous metrics that we're mostly interested in. Now, when you get into a manufacturing process, you're looking at more of you are looking at more of things like dimensional attributes of a part. A widget has to be so many inches high, so many centimeters deep, so many centimeters wide. All right, so those are really more of continuous metrics. But in administrative value stream mapping, where we might be looking at things like changeover, cycle time, etc. Now it's time to move from our current state value stream map to our future state value stream map. There are basically two types of value stream maps. Again, the current state value stream map, which is a value stream map really to help us understand what our present or current state is, the broken state, the unoptimized or unstreamlined states. And that state helps us to gain the epiphanies of that we have over, in a lot of cases, we have over 99% non-value in our process. Again, this is where a lot of my students, a lot of my colleagues' students have that epiphany, and they step back and they go, "Wow, that's amazing. We really didn't know we were performing to this state." So now that we know our current state, now it's time to move to that future state, and that future state can be written a number of different ways. One way to write that state is in a picture, to understand what does this broken process look like if we actually add the tools, the methodology of Lean and Six Sigma. What could it look like in the future? And we also need to understand, and we also write the future state in the concept of our key performance indicators or our targets. So when I draw my future state, I want to draw it to meet what my goals are, what my targets are. So if I have a process and it's taking 3 weeks, but it really should take 2 days, well, that 3-week process is my current state, and I really want to know what's causing it to last that 3 weeks. My future state is what tools do I have to put in place? What does my process look like in the future state to where it's actually performing to the goal? So again, I could write that out in an actual value stream map with pictures, using the tools and concepts of Lean, like replenishment pull, flow and tack time, and other tools of Lean. And I also can use some mathematical models in Six Sigma to help me understand, can we get to that state? So that's really what that future state looks like. And in between the future state and the current state, there lies a delta, there lies a gap. And that gap is really where we need to understand, how do we cross that gap? And crossing that gap is partly helped by us understanding what the future state looks like. So how do I get to that future state? Well, I may have to put the concepts of pulling Kanban into place. I may have to put the concepts of a better flow using takt time and onboards, etc. And so that it really helps me to bridge the gap between the current state to that future state. So some of the questions we ask in developing that future state could be, what are our KPIs? What are our key performance indicators? What are our targets, our organizational targets? What is the operational takt time? Takt is a German word for metronome. Basically talks about the heartbeat of the process. So at what rate should our process output products or services or transactions? And this is one of the key metrics in Lean, and should be the key metrics in most organizations, especially organizations that have a high throughput and produce a lot of the same things over and over. Where can we use something like FIFO? FIFO being first in, first out, or continuous flow. And really this goes in conjunction with what's called pull and Kanban, to make sure that we manage our inventory so that it doesn't build up in certain places. Where should we use pull systems? And in my Lean class, in our Lean agent class, we talk about both pull and Kanban. Both of those can exist without each other. All right, they're two methodologies that work in synergy. So where can we use those pull systems? Where can we pull instead of push? At what point in the chain do we schedule or trigger? We talk a lot in our Lean class about how there's a lot of practitioners that have been taught incorrectly that you either have to pull the whole organization or you don't. That's untrue. We use the Pareto concept, that 80-20. Usually in a lot of high SKU environments, we look at this and I've been told a lot of times, well, we were told that we can't pull because we have too many SKUs. Well, again, that's not true, because that 20% of your product that makes you 80% costs you 80% of capacity, or makes you 80% of your profit, that's really where you want to optimize, where you want to streamline. In that case, that might be where you want to pull and get those products taken off a schedule, but more put into a pull scenario, and that a lot of times relieves a lot of the strain on your system. How do we level the workload mix? Can we make every unit every day? Can we do this to manage a just-in-time system? Again, back to our Lean agent class, we talk about, a lot of companies call us up and they say, Kevin, we really want to put just-in-time in place in our organization. And I asked them, well, what kind of infrastructure do you have to sustain that? And they kind of sound a little dumbfounded. Well, what do you mean infrastructure? JIT, just in time, is a part of Lean. And it can't exist without Lean. It can't exist without this flow and this pull and this concept of continuously improving your process. Otherwise, it's just gonna end up in what's called the pendulum effect, where we start to have parts just in time, or we think they're going to be just in time, and then they all end up being JTL, not JIT, but JTL. JTL means just too late. And because all of a sudden we're getting our materials in just too late, people start to hoard materials again. And then we move into a scenario of JIC, which is just in case, which is where we started out. That's where we've got material everywhere because we think we're going to need it eventually. So without Lean, without the concepts of Lean, the infrastructure for Lean put into place, you can't have JIT. And the most important, or one of the most important, that I rarely see in organizations is where can we utilize cross-trained, flexible employees? I go into a lot of places that I hear this term, job security. I hear an employee saying, "Well, this is something only I can do. I'm the only one that knows this in the organization." We call those monuments because that's where the process tends to stop. So in Lean doesn't really look at you as an employee, but Lean looks at you as dynamic capacity, and the organization wants to optimize your capacity so that we get an optimal takt time. And I know that some of these words that I'm using are maybe somewhat Latin to you, but again, these terms are integral to this concept of Lean and really transforming your company. And you really can't get to that point unless you get away from having people that only do one thing. My job is to do this and that's it, or nobody knows what I do. In Lean, we learn many jobs, many disciplines, so that we can optimize our capacity throughout the process, throughout the system, throughout the organization, where it's needed. And that's what we call flexing, and that's done by cross-training. So these questions are, these have to be answered to really understand truly what are the benefits we get that can get us. I'm sorry, not benefits, but what are those tools and methodologies that are going to get us to that future state? Well, we learned quite a bit of things in just a very short amount of time. We learned just a little bit about our organization, Six Sigma Development Solutions. Again, a global organization. We have again a number of team members stationed throughout the globe to tackle any opportunity that should arise. You also learn a little bit about myself, Kevin Clay, one of the principals in that firm. Again, we really like to think of ourselves as mentors, as teachers, and our goal is to progress you in your organization with these tools of Lean and Six Sigma. We taught you how to use the value stream map as a transformational tool. Now, let me tell you that we've only shown you how to do this really at a high level. The value stream map is one of the most important concepts that we teach in our Lean Agent class. It's a very key transformational tool, very easy to understand, but it does take a little bit of a learning curve to understand how to do it, because most people, especially even in that have gone through our class, call me up and say, well, I started out with a value stream map, but somehow I ended up with a process map. And that's normal, because again, if you do a value stream map from the end of the process to the beginning, then you won't fall into that trap. And again, a value stream map is not a process map. It's tracking one thing. It's tracking a part, a transaction, a service through the value stream in the process. Okay, we taught you how to basically develop one. Again, there's a lot of information that we have on our blogs. We'll talk about that. We taught you the difference between transactional VSMs and industrial. And we taught you how to develop a basic future state VSM. So, and we taught you, how do I get from that current state to that future state? So hopefully this is kind of wet your whistle so to speak, as far as, I want to learn more. I want to be more educated, and to be more educated, really, there's a lot of information out there on the web. Uh, we invite you to be part of one of our lean agent classes, our lean certification classes. And we'll talk about that in the strategy session in just a minute. So if you have any questions for us, I know this is a recorded webinar, please send that to us. In the next slide, you'll have my email and a way to get a hold of me, both email and phone. So you can text me, you can email me, etc. Again, we love to interact with our students. It all starts with a conversation. That's kind of our motto at Six Sigma Development Solutions, and really that motto is because we know that our business comes from developing relationships. It's a little bit of an investment to go through the green belt training, the black belt training, etc. And so you want to know, is this really going to be what we want it to be? Are we really going to get anything out of this? Is the teacher really? Do they understand what they're teaching? So this is really partially to help you to gain comfort with us, to understand that we've been around, we've seen a lot of things, we know how to transfer knowledge, we know how to teach it. It takes somebody. A master black belt is a mentor, a teacher, and teaching is kind of a talent. So I've met many master black belts that really didn't have the skill of being able to teach, being able to be charismatic, and engage the students and hold their attention. So we have, again, 50 plus contractors that all are 15 year veterans that all are very capable of teaching and holding that attention. So we'd like to schedule a call with you to discuss a few of the things that I'm about to tell you. But really, what we're looking for is what makes you tick. What are your goals? What are your career goals? What are your goals when it comes to Lean and Six Sigma? And how can we help you? How can we help you to progress, to reach those goals? How can we help you to become a practitioner, to become an educated practitioner? And first of all, to do that, you have to be educated. You have to take these classes. You have to, have that thirst for knowledge. And we have many certification classes that can help you reach that. Now, the classes, we can teach you how to be a practitioner, and you'll learn excellent tools. You'll learn great tools that will follow you throughout your career should you use them. But if you're in an organization that really doesn't understand nor value Lean and or Six Sigma, it kind of stunts your growth in these methodologies. So one of the questions we ask you is, does your company currently support Lean and Six Sigma? If not, how can we help you to help your company to really value that? And we can do that with the number of webinars that we have in place, both live webinars and recorded webinars, like, what is Lean and Six Sigma? Basically an introduction to Lean and Six Sigma. So by doing all this, we can help you to achieve your career goals, and we've helped many people do that. We have relationships with many different recruiting agencies that call us up, almost on a daily basis, asking us, hey, have you got people that are skilled in these certain aspects? And we always do. and we give them names of people that we have trained, and we only give them names of people that we have trained because we know that we've taught you, and you know what you're doing. We don't suggest people that have been trained outside of our curriculum because truthfully we don't know how well that training was conducted. So again, I'd really like to schedule that call with you, about a 30-minute call. A lot of times it goes over that. Schedule a call and just have an informal conversation about your career goals and again where you want to go in this Lean and Six Sigma methodology. So give me a call at 479-739-4940, or you can email me at the email address there, and let's schedule that call. And let us help you achieve your career goals. So I hope you leave this webinar with a little more education than you came into it with, and we hope to see you in other webinars, whether we see you, hear from you, or you choose to engage in our other recorded webinars. So have a great morning, afternoon, wherever you are, and again, we hope to see you in the other solutions, other webinars. Thank you.